pick for Valentine's Day 2024 movie that's lasted almost 40 years. It may last another 40. A viewer asked me just recently what my favorite comfort movie is, and while I can give 100 different answers, this could be one. This is an easy one to pick up, watch with my wife. You could easily just have fun with it, but along with that, you can analyze it because it's got a great script by John Patrick Shanley and great direction by Norman Jewison. Movie's attractions, Cher stars as Loretta Castorini, a 37-year-old who hasn't had a man for a number of years. She's going to get married to Danny Aiello's character, but she really doesn't like him that much, or doesn't really they don't seem to fit together very well. She sort of have a tragic past with her husband dying in a horrible accident, even though this movie makes a lot of whimsy out of that. In fact, that's one of the tones and ideas of this movie, is that it is cornball whimsy, but with a mixture of high and low. It's a little Baroque that way, with opera on the one hand, La Boheme, but also Wolfman stuff and werewolf stuff as well.
You can't see what you are, and I see everything. You're a wolf.
I'm a wolf.
Anyway, she gets engaged to Johnny Camerari, the Aiello character, but then she runs into Ronnie Camerari, played by Nick Cage, in an ideal Nick Cage role. We should have seen the Cageisms that come out of this. A very early Nick Cage role. Here he is playing a sort of messed up guy, screwed over by his brother, lost his hand, and yet is a romantic at heart while a hard working class kind of guy. So as a rom-com, Cher is an older woman falling in love with a younger man, but with that twist of, oh, there's a love triangle. And guess what? Both of her parents get involved in love triangles as well. One played by Olympia Dukakis, Rose Castorini, and the other played by Vincent Gardenia. Both of them are great in these roles. And I just love that Olympia Dukakis gets to pair with John Mahoney, another great actor, and they have a little bit of a love triangle in this movie. Now, with those three relationships going on and three love triangles, I must say this movie is Capraesque plus a sort of Italian love dramas that, are in other kinds of movies, but the Capraesque thing comes alive here for me near the end of the movie. That's made explicit with this sort of bank deposit being missed, a la It's a Wonderful Life. But all these people, and this is an Italian family, come together. And this movie takes place in a time and place that seems, well, not of this earth. While it's set, and it's got a foundation of realism in Brooklyn, nevertheless, everything is touched with romanticism. And I don't mean romance in terms of love or relationships. I mean everything is sort of, it has a transcendental quality to it. For example, Ronnie Camerari is at once a wolf man, as described several times in this movie, and yet he's also that star-crossed lover that could be in La Boheme, the opera. One of the central conceits in the movie, in fact, is it's in the dead middle of the movie. There's going to be La Belle Luna, and this wonderful moon, a full moon, comes out. It's there the entire movie, as with the title Moonstruck. You get this full moon that's making people, one, go crazy in love, two, bringing out the wolfman and a couple of lovers. It's sort of recentering and reorienting everybody's relationships with everything else in a romantic way, which is comedic, which means everything is going to end happily and well and have a wonderful transcendental, joyous quality to it. Writer John Patrick Shanley, who I admire very much and directed some very good movies, Joe versus the Volcano and Doubt, does the writing here. He won an Oscar for Best Script, and I think he's Catholic through and through. So if those of you who know Catholicism, for example, the Loretta Castorini goes to confession in a very funny moment, but also poignant, and both she and her mother, played by Olympia Dukakis, have this sort of shared Catholicism.
Twice I took the name of the Lord in vain. Once I slept with the brother of my fiancé, and once I bounced a check at the liquor store. But that was really an accident.
Both the guilt and the possible absolution or cleansing that can have reformed love, in terms of at least their relationships with men. But yet both are confused, and this wonderful question comes up several times, asked of several characters. Why do men chase women? Of course, one of the default answers could be the moon, the full moon that comes out, makes people go crazy in love. But this is actually a good fundamental question. Why is there love at all? Why do men love women? Why do women have to suffer in love? These kinds of questions come up, and in one way the movie is very happy and joyous, but it's also got this sad sack quality to it. These characters talk about death all the time. Ronnie Camerari, in fact, even threatens to commit suicide. Now, it's very jokey, but I don't think he ever joked too much about suicide. I always think there's a little bit of truth in things, and he really feels sad and depressed at that moment.
Why do men chase women?
There's the Bible story. God took a rib from Adam. Now maybe men chase women to get the rib back.
So I think John Patrick Shanley understands that both love and death are kind of sitting there together, and sort of these ideas that, hey, you're going to die one day, that comes up with all of these lovers who may be good looking at one point or in love at one point, but everything dies and everything changes. And so that's one of the ideas of this movie at its heart, which nevertheless I feel like is trumped by the family dynamics, both sort of the Italian family dynamics as well as the love between the Loretta Castorini character and her family. I love the old man character in this is like grounded, and he's the one who talks about the moon. He's got all these dogs and it's very funny. For a movie that has I think, a defined worldview of romanticism through and through, both the big R romanticism of the early 19th century and the small R romanticism of rom-coms, I think this movie says everything has a sort of transcendental typical quality. An ordinary man, Ronnie Camilleri, for example, is the type of a wolf man, but a lover as well. And so everybody in this movie sort of has these extra human qualities to them. Everything is spiritual, transcendental, if you want to look at it that way. But the baseline of this movie is realism, although I must say this takes place in an unreal Brooklyn. I don't think this is ever Brooklyn has ever looked or felt like this before. Timeless, unearthly movie locations that nevertheless is set in the real world, and yet it doesn't feel like the real world at all. All in all, I've always appreciated this movie. I don't always love it, but sometimes I do. I definitely love the ending. It's quirky, it's funny, it makes me feel good, and so I recommend Moonstruck to you if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, though, what are your questions or comments about it? Let us know in the comments, and please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.